All right, colleagues, we are going to start the MMPD department hearing. You can find this on page 300 of your budget book. And joining us today, we have Chief Drake. Chief, thank you so very much for being here. If you could go ahead and introduce yourself and introduce who you have with you, you are recognized.
All right. Thank you, Chair Porterfield and Chair Evans and members of the Metropolitan Council. Thank you all for having us here. Joining me today is Samir Mihik from the Fiscal Division, Don Aaron, our Public Information Officer, Joe Cottrell from the FOP, and then our executive and command staff, various assistant chiefs, deputy chiefs, inspectors, commanders of precincts throughout Nashville, and captains. They're all here. So they represent the entire city, and we're all excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you this afternoon. It's my privilege to represent the 2,200 employees of our police department who have dedicated their professional lives to enhancing the safety of Nashville's families and visitors. Before I get into the nuts and bolts of our proposed budget, I want to take just a few moments to update you on the crime in our city over the first 5.5 months of 2025. Overall, major crime is down 8.3%. Violent crime is down 8.5%. Property crime is down 8.2%. We have seen significant reductions in the offenses of rape, robbery, aggravated assault, residential burglary, larceny, and auto theft. Homicide at this point in the year is down 28%. Non-lethal gunshot injuries are down 37%. And carjackings are showing a reduction of 29%. As you may know, one of our department's core pillars is precision policing, meaning we are working very hard to identify and arrest those persons who pose a real danger to innocent families. Our detectives and officers are doing incredible work every day to hold criminals accountable, even as we continue to advocate for technology that would allow us to be even more effective in fighting crime. In regard to traffic enforcement, this department's vehicle stops are up 65% so far this year, while total traffic crashes are down 5%. There is clearly a need for enforcement to slow people down. Our centralized motorcycle unit continues to be deployed to problem areas, particularly in neighborhoods, to address troublesome driving behaviors. Turning now to police department staffing. We today have 1,572 sworn police officers, a deficit of 86 from our presently authorized strength of 1,658. This is the first time in a long time that the deficit has been below 100, and our recruiters and academy staff are working diligently to continue closing the gap. There are 39 police officer trainees now in the academy. 17 will graduate on July 9th, and then 22 more will graduate on October 7th. 2 additional basic classes are slated to start in August and November, with lateral classes also scheduled for law enforcement officers who want to transition their careers to Nashville. Construction on the new Southeast Precinct on Murfreesboro Road is coming along, and we look forward to bringing that facility online by the end of this year. Our latest configuration has the Southeast Precinct covering an area of 72.7 square miles, which includes 14.4 square miles of Percy Priest Lake. The new precinct's boundaries will include Nolensville Pike to the west, Percy Priest Lake to the east, Haywood Lane, Antioch Pike, Franklin Limestone Road, and Smith Springs Road to the north, and the Rutherford County line to the south. The land areas are existing South, Hermitage, and Milltown Hills precincts will shrink when the Southeast Precinct opens. Now I want to turn to the budget and thank Mayor O'Connell for recommending a critical general fund investment of $21.5 million for the next fiscal year. This investment would mean 23 additional officers to support safety in schools, including the Rapid School Safety Team, which we created after the Covenant School tragedy to reassure parents and this community that the safety of our school children is a top priority in this police department. We pull officers from various components to form this team, and the mayor's recommended funding will allow us to restore positions at our precincts, particularly in the evening shift when calls for service are the highest. As many of you know, all of Nashville's public high schools and middle schools are staffed with police officers, as are 9 elementaries in consultation with MNPS. We plan to add a 3rd officer to each comprehensive high school. We've already done that for Antioch in response to the fatal shooting in the cafeteria school earlier this year. We will also add elementary schools to the SRO program in the future. In February, our department created a new D as in David shift, which overlaps with the day and evening details to enhance our visibility during peak hours and reduce response time for non-emergency calls countywide. We repurpose officers from the precinct community engagement teams to establish the D shift, and it is working. Since February 1, D detail officers have been primary on 2,826 calls for service across the precincts, and response times are down an average of nearly 10 minutes. Mayor O'Connell's recommended budget allow us to restore 38 officer and supervisor D detail positions back to the precincts, which should reflect increased visibility and improved response times. While the D detail is supported in the proposed budget, the alternative police response unit is not. The APR unit became operational in February 2022 and is staffed by part-time retired officers who work 19 hours per week. APR staff handles calls and takes reports from persons who really don't need to see a police officer in person. In 2024, the APR unit handled 38,192 calls and completed 30,104 reports, which accounted for 19% of all calls for service last year. This unfunded line item is $1.8 million. The program saves the government money because we're using part-time staff to take these reports who do not need police cars or other law enforcement equipment to do their jobs. I would ask you to consider placing the $1.8 million costs on the wish list. Speaking of the wish list, I want to address the entertainment district unit, which is keeping downtown safe during the peak times of Thursday through Sunday nights when thousands of people, local residents, visitors, travel to Broadway and the Gulch areas. You will remember that we began staffing up the entertainment district with officers drawn from the precincts after the mass shooting in Las Vegas in 2017. And one only need look at the New Year's tragedy in New Orleans to point out why a special police unit in the downtown entertainment area is a necessity. We were able to create the permanent EDU in 2023 and keep it going through salary savings. Such salary savings has gotten much smaller with our increased hiring. Our request for $4.2 million to fund the entertainment district unit in the upcoming fiscal year is not included in the budget before you. Nevertheless, public safety demands that remain in place, and we will find a way to make that happen. I have one more ask, an increase of $330,000 to allow the police department to retain an existing 72 high-mileage vehicles in our fleet. These vehicles have been replaced by new ones, but nevertheless are needed as the number of new police officers has increased. Being able to retain these 72 vehicles with funding for fuel and maintenance will allow for more police cars on the streets and help ensure that cars are available when officers need them. This funding will also cover radio equipment and police bicycle repairs. Finally, other significant recommended improvements in our budget include maintenance for our helicopters, which has been instrumental in safe apprehensions of violent criminals, funds to support new body-worn camera technology, and tracking software for 100 new police vehicles. I'm also grateful for inclusion of funding for summer camps in July to be hosted by school resource officers and our Police Activities League personnel. These camps are very important towards building character and maintaining relationships with our youth. Council members, with your continuing support, we in the police department are excited about being innovative in our continuing work to enhance public safety in our ever-growing Nashville next fiscal year through organizational excellence, community engagement, and precision policing. Thank you for your support. And with that, Chairs Porterfield and Evans, I am pleased to answer questions.
Thank you, Chief Drake. We appreciate this presentation, and thank you for everything that you do for our city. It is definitely great news to hear these statistics about crime being down. I know many times the lived experience of our residents, people feel like crime is up, and we always hear crime is up, crime is up. So it's great to combat that narrative with facts. So thank you so very much for bringing factual information that we can share with our constituents to, again, curb those harmful narratives that we hear.
Thank you.
I had a few questions, and then I'll turn it over to Chair Evans. Do we have not an exact date, but just an approximate date of when the Southeast Precinct will be coming online?
We were told the fall of 2025. I went out there just yesterday, and it's coming along pretty good. We haven't been given an exact date as of yet, but historically, once we order computers, it's usually 90 days after that. So whenever we get that, we'll be able to probably give an exact date or pretty close to an exact date. So I will follow up once we get that.
Thank you. And then I had a question about the $21.5 million investment from the mayor's budget. You mentioned $21.5 million. I thought the mayor mentioned $25 million in the budget, so I just wanted to get clarity from either you all or from finance if there was a discrepancy on if it was an additional 21 or an additional 25. And if you all don't have that at the moment, it's okay. You all have it now? Okay. Finance, I'm going to kick it to you all.
Yeah, okay. 21, right?
21. So the 21 that the chief mentioned, Janine Reed, Finance Director. Great to see you all today. The 21 that the chief referenced is in regards to the general fund budget. There is money in the budget as well in regards to the CHIME program of another 3.5 million. So if you combine the 21.5 and the 3.5 in the transit budget, that gives you the 25 in total that the mayor referenced.
Okay, thank you so very much.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. And then just two more questions, Chief. You mentioned the alternative police unit, the retired officers who are taking calls that may not need like a police officer in person. Can you give us an example of what type of calls they respond to?
Oh, yes. It could be any cause. It could be package thefts off of a porch. It could be a bicycle that was stolen out of a yard, or a lawnmower where you have no suspects, where someone may wait several hours for a police car to respond. They can usually have a call done within minutes or within an hour, take that report, and it's been very effective. We've been able to follow up on cases as well, where we can get video, et cetera, and make cases from it. So it's been highly effective.
Thank you. Are they armed?
They are not armed. They're part-time. They come in, they sit in their office, and they take calls as they come in.
Thank you so very much. And then my last question is the $330,000 ask to retain the 72 high-mile vehicles. And you said that the vehicles had been replaced by new vehicles, but you wanted to retain the vehicles. So is that saying those vehicles, new ones came in, but you want to keep the old ones that you have, and this is the cost to, like fuel cost to keep those 72?
Correct. That's the fuel costs and maintenance for those vehicles. We keep growing as a police department. Although we had the vehicles replaced, we keep growing, and we have officers that need cars, and we just put them in cars that historically would have been scrapped and sent somewhere else, but we use them. So.
Thank you so very much. So I'm going to start with Councilmember Evans, who's the Chair of Public Health and Safety. And then, colleagues, if you can just raise your hand, I will scan the room. I'm going to start on this side this time, because since I started on that side last time, start on this time, and I'll get everybody in the queue. So, Councilmember Evans, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chief. On the APR unit, that Chair just was asking about. I don't know if you heard the conversation that we had last week with Sheriff Hall, where he was kind of speaking to like some of the challenges that they've had with hiring and some of the creative things that he's done to try to get corrections officers. And I guess thinking about this unit, and I understand the value of like wanting to have a sworn officer that has like that background to be able to take these calls. Because I would assume that there's also probably people who call in thinking it's kind of like a benign thing they're calling about, but maybe there's information that could lead to something more significant, would be my assumption. And so kind of thinking about that, the growth of this group, is there opportunity, like I would assume that we pay them hourly and they're not like a salaried position, but like this 19% of calls, is there opportunity that number, that percentage could increase if you had more people, if you had, that 1.8 million on a wish list that was funded?
Yeah, it could. So it really, we could expand our APR unit. I mean, they are taking a lot of calls, and it's improved our police department efficiency. We've been able to improve our response times, where somebody historically would have to wait hours to make a report. I've even heard of people waiting 10 hours for a report before, because if officers out on a shooting or a domestic or a crash, fatality, it could take hours. And these men and women, part-time officers, they know how to talk to people. People sometimes are upset when they have things that it may seem small, but at least the officer knows how nothing is too small, and they treat people with respect. That's a lot better to have that mindset. They've had the training that we've had to be able to help people through those difficult situations, and they've been highly effective.
And is there any opportunity for people that really want to be in law enforcement, but maybe they don't meet one of the qualifications, like they can't run as fast as they need to or whatever, but who could potentially be valuable assets in a role like this? Is there thinking about kind of the creative, problem solving to be able to get more people to take calls like this? Is there any avenue kind of down that way that you've explored?
Well, we bring in a lot of professional support from the civilian world, the work in the community safety center, the work in various aspects of the police department. I think it's critical to have to know how to make a police report and how to code it. It's very complicated when you could you could have a robbery, and some people think burglary is a robbery, and you put the wrong code down. And so it's just, I think it's good to have officers. There may be an opportunity to experiment with that as a pilot a little bit, but right now I think the best approach is with officers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then on the entertainment district unit, with it being unfunded for the 4.2 million, I guess kind of from a balancing perspective, because I think there's like a real resentment, I would say, in a lot of the outside of the downtown core, where people really do look at like, we're putting all this effort in downtown and being able to support downtown. And I understand the reality, the economic realities of this is a revenue generator. We need to protect kind of this area in particular. We don't want to be have a reputation as an unsafe city, and that then cause further economic challenges. But it's hard to kind of convince people that live out where I am that is like something that we all should care about. So I guess thinking about like the balancing act between you didn't get funded, you're going to try to work within like overtime costs, but that comes at a cost from an employee perspective and kind of burnout and things like that. What is the cost difference? Like when you're managing, like if you had been funded 4.2 million, how does that differ from like you trying to perform the same operations and only use like that overtime expense?
Yeah, I think it's so we balance the entire city first and foremost when we take that. So that's why we started the D as in David detail and the E detail. We were getting hit by theft from motor vehicles, and it was at one point we were 51% in the red from that, and so we put these units in place, and it went to 8% in the green. Before we started the entertainment district unit, we were pulling officers from all over the city. So every precinct had to send 1 or 2 officers to work this assignment. And what that did was pull away from the neighborhoods to bring in to try to keep downtown safe. At the same time, the cost on the department is people hated that assignment so much, they were resigning in droves. They were like, did not want to work it. And so the only way to keep attrition down, to keep from losing officers, was to create the entertainment district unit and then give them a slight bonus so they can work during the peak hours. I think if we went to anything else, we would see people start to vacate again.
So there's the potential from what you're describing that we could start to see attrition kind of go back up if you're kind of having to revert to the old model.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Chair Evans. Vice Chair Toombs, you're recognized.
I just wanted some clarification on thank you, Chief Drake.
Hey.
I just wanted some clarification on the alternative police response. I was trying to follow, but wasn't really understanding that was in your fiscal year 25 request. I don't see it in the fiscal year 26. So is that something you are currently still using, or you're funding it in other ways?
Yeah, we are still using it, so, and we requested it, right? And so it just was not
Okay.
funded. Yeah.
Okay. The DT, okay, thank you, okay. And you're using your salary savings to pay for those positions?
For now. Yeah.
Okay, and how many positions?
That's 39 positions.
Okay, I got it now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Vice Chair. So I have Council Members Johnston, followed by Councilmember Cortez, and then Councilmember Coopin, and then Councilmember Benedict. If anyone else, Councilmember Spain and Councilmember Sroor, they just bumped you, Coopin and Benedict, so you guys just got pushed down 2 slots. All right, Councilmember Johnston, Cortez, Spain, then Sroor. Johnston, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, and thank you to all the officers out there. I feel very safe right now.
Thank you.
So you guys and gals do a lot of shifting around to make stuff work, given the constraints with budgets and lack of FTEs and all those types of things. And so I want to ask, if you get the budget that the mayor has recommended, will you be able to do everything that you're doing now and open the 9th precinct?
I would say no. We'll have to look at reductions in scenarios. I believe we requested somewhere in the neighborhood of 141 FTEs, and we got 61. And so, we would have to look at reductions. So, yeah.
And so the EDU has never actually been funded. You've always sort of made that up, pulling from different areas. And right now, it's my understanding that the FTEs that have been funded for the 9th precinct, which I know is important to a lot of council members and the community, that's where you're getting those FTEs for the EDU, correct?
We are using those, yeah. We're pulling from everywhere.
Yeah. And so when you open the 9th precinct, EDU, for the most part, has to go away.
We're hoping not to, but there's a lot of scenarios we'll have to look at, but the entire city is so important, and so is downtown, and we have to try to weigh how we're going to do that. If we get rid of EDU and then start pulling officers back into downtown to try to keep it safe, because we have tourists and people that live here to visit and say that they feel safe down there. We had officers that were being assaulted. We had people that were pulling guns on officers. Fortunate we didn't have any shot. We did have a French tourist that was shot. We would lose a lot of the good things that we've accomplished down there if we have to get rid of that unit. And it's very possible if we don't get the funding for it.
So I was glad to hear that the D detail, because I have to say I did not like that idea, because I like my CET officers. But I am glad to know that that has turned out to be, again, not funded right now in FY25. That's something that was created. So again, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Mm-hmm. And then it's still not completely funded. But I think one of the things that makes the numbers look really good for D-Detail as far as being able to respond more quickly is the APR units. Which is not funded again. It's my understanding that those folks took last year about 30,000 phone calls.
Yes.
So when that goes away, and here we are trying to reduce response time, adding another 30,000 calls into the rotation is going to make D-Detail look not so great anymore. Would you agree with that?
I would agree 100%. They took 31,000 calls and over 30,000 reports. And if you take 45 minutes to an hour or more per report, driving to whatever location, response times will just go through the roof, I think. So we'll be back to people waiting hours just to make a simple report that could be annoying. Yeah. And we don't want that.
Right. I appreciate that. And I also really like the fact that you guys have tried to, anyway, think outside the box and utilize assets with our vehicles that have, I guess by whatever definition General Services gives, has been past their useful life, but we know that they do have a little bit of useful life left in them. And so because we don't have enough cars for everyone, we're trying to utilize. So I appreciate that you tried to get the resources to use those vehicles. And it's unfortunate that a lot of this has not been given to you guys. And it's even more difficult when we're looking at such a large tax increase. To really be in a situation from council's perspective, because we're always having to rob Peter to pay Paul. It makes it extra difficult knowing that so much of what is needed has not been given. So I'm going to apologize. But thank you for what you guys tried to do. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, we continue to grow as a police department. We have men and women coming from locally, Tennessee, from all over the country, and some places outside of the U.S. That want to be a part of our police department. And not having a police car, it's nothing more frustrating, I think, to a police officer when you first get out and you're energetic and you want to start your shift and you don't have a car. And you're waiting for an hour or whatever. So having these vehicles, although they may not be useful to other parts of Metro government, for officers to be able to use them, I think is vitally important.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnston. One brief.
Because I wanted to make it clear, there were several times that we've talked about having 23 SROs and that 23 SROs are coming, and that's not the case. It's a rapid response team. And so I know that some of that rapid response team is used for, like, if you've got SROs that are assigned to schools that are sick, or if there is some sort of detainment that needs to happen and someone needs to go to relieve them. So I appreciate having that sort of flex SRO, but we're not getting 23 SROs. I think there's 5. And it really is a rapid response team that was put into effect. So I just want to make that clarification that we're not getting 23 SROs. We only have 9 SROs in 9 of our elementary schools. That's not changing. So I think it's really important that people understand that. So thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnston. Councilmember Cortez, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Chief Drake, for everything you and the department have done. It's been, I feel very privileged to live here with your leadership.
Thank you.
Most of my questions were answered, and this is a rookie question, and it goes off of what Councilmember Johnston was saying. Are the SROs, are they included in the school security in the budget modification that was submitted?
You want to say?
I believe in last year, we received some money from the state to help fund that program. Are we expecting money from the state again this year?
I know we got it the first year. Is it redundant? We got money for the 5 SROs. That's it.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you so much. And also, I don't think that was heard on the mic, but the question that you asked, which was, is the funding for the SROs in the school budget or the police budget? And I believe the answer was the police budget. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes, the police budget.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
I just wanted to make sure that we got that on the mic, so so that the viewing audience could hear. Councilmember Spain, followed by Councilmember Srour. Councilmember, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chief, for being here. Appreciate what you and your officers do. I want to follow up also on the SRO issue. So this includes 5 additional SROs, but did I understand you correctly that those aren't to expand the program into additional elementary schools? That's to add a 3rd officer in high schools.
So we're going to add a 3rd officer to each comprehensive high school, but we're also trying to put SROs in the elementary schools as well. So we have lateral officers that are applying from other agencies, and so we're hoping to expand that. And that's where we're getting some of our state funding too, is for those 5 officers.
Okay, I don't know, that kind of raised a little bit of a red flag for me. Maybe it's because I have kids at one of our elementary schools, but, and I know, in some cases you've got shooters have an issue with a particular school. It's a student at the school, but then also you have some that are looking for an easy target. And I wonder if by putting our resources in our high school and middle schools, if we're, for lack of a better term, putting a bigger target on our elementary schools. And that's just something that raised a flag to me.
Yeah, so that's a good question. We do the school safety initiative where we take officers throughout the department and put them on rotating shifts at all the elementary schools, so they are covered, not for the entire day at schools, but they are covered. And then the rapid response team is it's to help with any of that too. So, but we do staff partially at the elementary schools.
I appreciate that, and I drive by the elementary schools in my district all the time, and I'm hardly ever there when there's not a unit at the school, especially when students are coming in and going out. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Spain. You're always so concise. I appreciate that. Council Lady Soror, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chief, and thanks for everyone that is here. I'm going to start my line of questioning about the SROs as well. What I wanted to ask you is, I know that because of the shooting in schools, there's a zero tolerance for guns in schools. And we've had an increase in number of kids that are arrested because they said something, they put something online, that so many kids were arrested lately. In some of those cases, I've had situations where the parents did not know. What does that process look like? And how are we making sure that while we're trying to keep the kids safe and take every threat seriously, we're also not increasing the school-to-prison pipeline?
Yeah, we are. So we take that into consideration. And every call that comes in, a child is not arrested for that. It's ran by the district attorney's office. The district attorney makes the assessment. And even for the kids that are arrested, then we do services for the family and the kid to try to help them. So it's trying to make sure they don't go through the pipeline to prison, but we try to figure out why they want to have a mass shooting, why they want to kill kids, what's going on in the family. Sometimes there's dysfunction. We can connect them to counselors, et cetera. And so we don't have that reoccurring person that wants to shoot a bunch of kids, and that's been really helpful. And not just addressing the kid, but the family too. I think that's important.
Councilmember Soror, I'm also going to ask if you will lift that question to the school, to MNPS when they come as well, because the zero tolerance policy for students bringing weapons to school resulting in expulsion is not a new policy. It's been an ongoing policy in our school system. So I would just like for you to also offer that to them as well. You're recognized.
Thank you, and that makes a lot of sense. It's just that we see a lot of increase these days, and that's why it's come to everybody's attention. Still following up on the SROs, I'm not a big fan of SROs in school. I've said that over and over again. When the sheriff was here, someone asked, since the sheriff's department does security for a lot of buildings, there was a question about if the sheriff department can take on securities in the school. This would not be officers harmed. This would not be people that can arrest kids on the spot. Is that a conversation that you're open to with he said it during his budget hearing. Have you heard anything about that, or is that something you'll be open to discussing?
I'm always open to listen to things. I'm a listener, but it doesn't mean that we'll do that. I love the way our school resource officers interact with kids, and I love the connections that we make. And I still have kids today that come up and they'll call me Officer Drake. They don't know I'm Chief Drake. They call me Officer Drake, and they'll give me a hug. And in fact, I just got a text message from a young man that plays for the Charlotte Hornets. He's coming here in June to do a basketball camp again, and so he wants me to come out and do something with the kids. So I think it's good for kids to see police officers in a kind and gentle role, and being role models and helping them, because that's really what helped me going through, is just meeting good people. So I don't know what the sheriff has said, but I think I'm a big fan of our school resource officers, and they do a tremendous job. It's not just there for security. It's not there just to make arrests. They're there to build relationships. There's some kids that they find that they don't have food. Some kids, they find they don't have mattresses at home, don't have computers, don't have other things. And we've been able to get them those items, get them food, get them mattresses, get them the help they need. Or maybe they're dealing with a very difficult situation at home. We've been able to get them counselors. So I think they play a tremendous role in the schools, and it's not just the uniform. I mean, I have a tradition, and my grandson ended school today, and so every first and last day of school, we go get ice cream, and I go in uniform. And all the kids run up to me, and they're happy to see me. They don't know really who I am. So I don't think it really, I think we play a vital role in that. So,
So Chief, thank you for that. And I respect the intent and what he does. I really do. And I do believe that police forming a relationship is a good thing. But I also think that we cannot have the same solution for every school and every area. The places in the community that would love to have police in the schools and welcome it, but we do know that there are areas where seeing an officer may not be the best thing for them. And so as we're looking into solutions, I hope we continue to talk about how do we do that safety in a way that is not just, I love some of the things that you do, honestly, but I'm of the opinion that not everything has to live in MMPD for it to be effective. We can still have those officers and people in the community that are playing the same role that the officers are playing, if we think having them in those areas will work better for some situation. I want us to continue that conversation as we continue to look at what keeps all of our kids safe. I applaud what you're doing, but I'm just saying that it cannot be one solution for every situation. There's situations wherein for some kids, it's traumatizing, and we've heard that, and we just need to keep working through that. So I just want to put that conversation out there, and I appreciate it. The other thing that I wanted to ask you is, thank you so much. I see that a lot of the report about crimes going down. Thank you for that, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
The chairs talk about how we can amplify that, but do you know why in the community, despite the crime going down, people still don't feel safe?
I think it's the perception. People look at media and they hear, say, a homicide. Right now we have 21 as compared to, I think, 32 at the same time last year. And so people are worried about being killed. But if you really look at homicides, and one of our detectives put it, the best I've heard it, it's friends killing friends. It's people that are having meetups to settle disputes. It's people that are meeting to do drug deals or gang involvement. There's some domestic related. So if you take all of that out, the chances of someone just being killed like a road rage is very, very rare. You don't see a lot of that. And so it's really a safe. I think it's just the perception of how the media pulls in crimes as they occur. And that's why we try to put out how we've had these double-digit reductions, and this has been year after year. And it's just a perception. When you have people speeding down the interstate at 100 miles an hour, those kind of things hurt that perception. It's not really the violent crime that drives people, it's the perception of feeling unsafe. And you have nuisance activities, street racers, people driving 100 miles an hour, and other things going on, people feel unsafe. And so we're trying to make sure that we slow people down, have a presence, and make people feel safer. And then we put the facts out about where crime really is.
Thank you. I know that one of the budget asks is an ad to put some things out. I think it would be very good if the police department do a campaign to just let the citizens know that things are getting better, because the email that we get almost on a regular basis, and the reason why people want programs and gadgets and technology is because people kept saying, we're not safe, we're going to move out. I think we have to push the narrative that things are getting better between us and your office. I think that's something we have to do, so thank you. The other question that I have is based on your reports here, and it's also talking about vehicle stops is now up by 65%. There's a two-part question to that. One, are all of those resulting in arrest? And the reason why I'm very interested in this particular question is that because of what happened with ICE raid in Nashville, because of what happened with the sheriff office where people are booked and then picked up, having the stop go up, any particular reason for them? And is it because I think a while back, if I remember, maybe 1 or 2 budgets ago, one of the conversation was that we don't want police doing traffic stops. We want them to be doing serious things, right? And so if we got 65% increase, does that mean police are now doing more traffic stops? And then what percentage of that is actually leading to arrest for small offenses?
I'll probably have to follow up with you on the percentage of arrests, but I don't think it's high at all. A lot of those are warnings. What we look at is high crime intersection, high crash intersections where people are having more involvement in crashes. more likely to occur. We look at where fatalities are happening, and we try to use that data to use enforcement to get people to slow down. And that's why our traffic crashes are down 5%. Our fatalities are down. And so we use it as a mechanism to try to get people to slow down. A lot of times it's a warning, but we need people to engage. We had several council members that were calling my office and wanting an increase in traffic stops. They were saying people were running through red lights. They were. In fact, you could see people go through a red light at 45, 50 miles an hour and never brake. And if they T-bone a family, it's going to be catastrophic for that family that's going through that intersection. So having enforcement is needed, but we still do everything else. We do precision policing. We identify the people that are committing the harm, and then we do something with them. So we try to be very effective in all those roles. But having fatalities, I think, is something in the Nashville community. That's what makes some people feel unsafe, is when, you can't drive on the road because you're scared people are going to run you over. So.
Thank you. And I don't know, I think Chair Evans, so maybe this is something we'll get later. At the last meeting that we have about MMPD working with ICE, not working with ICE, not knowing about it, one of the questions that I asked was the number of stops on the Nolensville corridor, if there was any significant change. And so that's why I wanted to know about this increase in stops for non-serious stuff. I wanted to make sure that we're not having a lot of stops that are resulting in arrests, especially around that area.
No, all of our things are involved around data or either criminal activity and nothing to do with immigration at all. If there's someone that's doing a criminal act, trafficking, drugs, DUI, any of those kind of things, that's what we're enforcing. If you go down Nolensville Road doing 80 miles an hour, you're going to get pulled over. You should, regardless of who you are. I think you should, but as far as what THP and ICE did, that's what they did. They never notified us. They don't have to, but they never notified us. So.
And I'll make it last because the chair is looking at me. So for traffic stops, for routine traffic stops, if my tail light is out, I should not be arrested for that. Is that correct?
That's correct. You get pulled over for a traffic light. And we started a program, I think it was called Lights on Nashville. And officers have a ticket within the car, and you give the person that ticket to go get that light repaired, and it pays for that repair. And so I very much believe in stuff like that because things can happen. I actually had that happen to me once. I had a headlight out, and, it happens to people. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Council Lady Sura. And colleagues, if we could remember to keep our questions germane to the budget, it would help us out. Next, we have Councilmember Coopin, Councilmember Benedict, and Councilmember Nash. Councilmember Coopin, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me even though I'm not on the committee. And thank you, Chief Drake and the entire team for all the hard work you do and the time you spent engaging with myself and my district. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
And I appreciate kind of looking at the data, but also want to elevate as we explore the budget where things are funded, the lack of safety and the feeling, like we talked about, a lack of safety that a number of my constituents are sharing. Just earlier today during lunch, I learned of a constituent who experienced a home invasion over the weekend. Their wife was home. Someone tried to break into the back door, and their wife and kids were right there. We know we had a hit and run where a tourist was almost fatally injured this week. I appreciate that kind of focus on the dichotomy of addressing these kind of one-off incidences that do contribute to that feeling of unsafeness, but also looking at the data to make sure people know holistically what's happening and appreciate all those efforts.
Thank you.
A couple questions, and apologies if we answered this one already, but what number of officers would you need to consider yourself fully staffed and fully operational? I know that I've heard we're under 100, and then there's another number. So what are you seeing now as far as what would be considered fully staffed?
So fully staffed, the 1658 number is misleading. That's the total number of FTEs that were allocated. But we had a firm out of Boston do a staffing study, I believe it was about 3 years ago, that said even if we were fully staffed, we would need 175 more officers to be effective in our city. And that was 3 years ago. And so I would say if we got to 1658, that number could easily double to 250, 300 more above the 1658. So.
Perfect, thank you. And then, I know Sky Cops are something that folks in my district have asked about. Are there more of those coming? Have you found those effective? What does that look like as far as the budget goes?
Yeah, so if so we've gotten all that we can for now. That's, within, unless we can get some more grant money from the federal government, and we don't know, that's tied up right now with all that's going on there. It's a little chaotic. But something we did last year, we got every commander of Sky Cop to put in the district, and it's been highly effective, especially where crime was occurring. When people would see that camera, that blue light, it would just reduce crime, and it's been really effective. We also have those cameras in special events, and so when there's not a special event going on, commanders can use those to augment in several different places as well. So they've been really effective. If we can get more through funding, we'll look at grant opportunities and see if we can get more, but they've been effective.
Thank you. Two more quick ones. Am I correct in understanding, so if the 4.2 million for the EDU is not allocated, does that mean that the EDU then gets disbanded, or is it something we look at, or what's that impact look like?
So it's going to be hard to disband them. As I said earlier, before there was the EDU unit, we had the EDI. And the EDI was officers that were pulled from every precinct. So Hermitage, South, East, North, all of them, to staff downtown to keep. So that would pull people out of those precincts and out of those communities into downtown. But what we had was people were resigning because they hated being down there and working weekends, especially on their off days. And that's why we designed the unit. And then we've been highly effective with attrition. Attrition went way down because people they're working the assignments they want to work. They get the rebid every year. So if they want to work north or east, they can work north or east and be there and do what they want to do in the communities they want to be in, and so not get pulled. We have to do what we can to keep Nashville safe. When we looked at vehicle burglaries, we knew we had to do something. We weren't bringing in enough officers to send them everywhere. So we try to be innovative. That's what we asked our team to do, to be innovative. And so we looked at what can we do to pull officers from maybe community engagement teams, create a team and put them in areas where crime or concerns or problems are happening more frequently. And that's been very effective in reducing crime. Right now, we're closing in on 1,400 less incidents this time than this time last year. So it's been pretty effective. So.
Thank you. One last question, but I do want to elevate the appreciation for the EDU and the team downtown. It's been really great to have folks that know the bars, know the managers, know the areas. I think that's a really huge asset for downtown, and I think you hit the nail on the head where it reduces the impact on the rest of the city. So really appreciate that. And lastly, I know this, last year we've talked about a number of initiatives. What are some things that we haven't talked about yet that maybe we should be looking at? You mentioned the ticket for the light. Are there other things that we should be looking at or considering going forward that we haven't touched on so far as a body?
Yes, I've thought recently about having substations near the entertainment district venues, the Gulch, Germantown, 5 Points, where we have a lot of traffic, having units dedicated to them, but that's growing. We have to grow as a department, but that's just a futuristic thing. One of the first things I wanted as chief was to have a DFR program, drones as a first response, and have drone docking stations throughout the city. And so if there's a violent crime that occurs, you can launch that drone and be over an incident within a minute and a half. We had a 3-year-old kid that went missing. We're looking for this kid. We have to get a helicopter up, but we could have had a drone up within a minute and over that person. Mount Juliet had a elderly person wander off, and it was freezing temperatures, and that person wouldn't have survived, and they were able to have a drone up and find that person. I want us to have that same capability if a kid or elderly person wanders off, gives us opportunity to find them, but also if a violent crime occurs, to be able to have a drone over that relatively quickly. I was one of the first chiefs in the country to sign the 30 by 30 initiative. At one time, we only had one female lieutenant. Right now, we have a bunch. We have commanders, we have deputy chiefs, inspectors. It's just a lot of diversity brewing within the department as far as women and minorities, and overall, it's looking pretty good. So, good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Coopin. I appreciate that. Next, we have Councilmember Benedict, followed by Councilmember Nash. Councilmember Benedict, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. So every year I voted for budgets that increased funding for MNPD, and you have my commitment. I'm going to be doing that again this year. I had a question about the $3.25 million on the SROs, which my colleagues have asked, and you've answered many of my questions about SROs. One thing it has here is additional resources for crossing guards. And it mentions summer school there, but I'm curious about the crossing guards. I'd love to see something like, well, I guess my question would be how many schools have crossing guards today, and in particular, elementary schools? And then I'd love to see some work with NDOT based on car counts. So for instance, I know at East High School and Middle, there are crossing guards there, and that's awesome because it's Main Street and Gallatin Pike. Tons of traffic. It's managed very well. However, Inglewood Elementary has the new flashers that NDOT got put up, but Riverside Drive has a significant amount of traffic and there's no crossing guards there. I'd love to see something for you to look at that with NDOT to make sure that we're funding positions in those most dangerous areas where there are not crossing guards today.
Can I say just a little
Sure.
bit? So one thing we looked at was trying to give the crossing guards a type of a bonus because the pay is so low that it's just hard to retain them. And so our traffic division goes out to these locations to try to make an assessment on where a crossing guard is needed the most. Not to say that one is not needed there. It's just saying that they may be more needed. They may be needed more somewhere else. But if you have a place, always call it in. Let us do an assessment on it and look at it. We would love to look at it because I really don't want it to be dangerous for kids. Do you want to add anything to that, or are you good? Bonus. Okay. He said we just recommended that for bonuses. I covered that, so thanks.
All right. Now, one question that I have is about the misuse of funds for a FUSIS contract. So there was a FUSIS contract that you had entered into that did not come with the surveillance public hearing that was required for that. What are you doing what measures or approvals have changed to prevent future misuse of funds like that?
So I don't know about the misuse of funds. I know that our team tried to do a pilot.
You entered into a contract for that, right?
With FUSIS as a pilot, so yeah. And I don't know about I have to get back to you on the misuse of funds. I don't know about any misuse of funds. I know that there's a question came up about AI or something, but I'm not sure. So.
I guess I want to characterize it as misuse of funds because you didn't have authorization to enter into that contract because it was for surveillance and it had not gone through the proper channels. So I'm going to categorize that as misuse, whether you do or not. That's how I'm going to call it. Okay. I'm really excited to see that the crime is down in the first 5.5 months of 2025. Those stats you named, and thank you for the copy here of your comments for that overall major crime is down 8.3%, violent down 8.5%, property down 8.2%. FUSIS hasn't been in place, LPRs haven't been in place. You're getting great results. And so my expectation is that without those tools going forward that you will as well. So keep up that good work. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I yield back.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. But I think if we had that, we would have reductions a lot.
Councilmember, we're not going back and forth. Chief Drake, please finish your statement. Thank you.
Yes, I would say if we had this technology, we'd be a lot more effective with what we're trying to do. One of the things I wanted is like with license plate readers, if we have a kid in a stolen car and they haven't committed a robbery or a more serious crime, maybe we can get them in some type of intervention and be able to help them before they commit more violent crime. So it's a tool not to just arrest, but look for alternatives to help people too. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Drake. Councilmember Nash, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. And always good to see my old friends.
Good to see you.
Like Councilman Evans, I hear from folks saying, oh, all the police are downtown. And I dispute that. But also, downtown is not just the bachelorette party scene anymore. It's a real neighborhood. We can check with Mr. Coopin, and we've got like 20,000 people that are residents down there. So those are policemen for that community also. And I think it's important that officers have ownership of where they're working. And you can't do that with the part-time guy coming in off his other beat for a day here and a day there. Having a unit dedicated to that area, as Councilmember Cooper has mentioned, they get to know the bad guys down there. They get to know the good guys. They get to know the owners. They can take some ownership of that area. And I think that's very important. And I hope we can find some funds for that to support that.
Well, thank you so much. And it's so critically important to develop the relationships, to know the nuances of those areas. We're going to have one of the biggest entertainment districts in the country. We have Nashville Yards coming on. We have the East Bank that's going to be developed. And we have people that are moving downtown. They're building more condominiums and apartments as we speak. And so it's just a city all in itself. And people want to feel safe when they're down there. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Nash. And Councilmember Evans, did you want to be recognized again? Okay. You don't have to be, but if you want to be, then, okay. All right. Councilmember Evans, you're
Thank you, Chair. And I guess kind of thinking about kind of this tension that we have with technology and personnel, you referenced earlier, like that basically we are not kind of where we need to be from a growth perspective matching kind of the support services. And we hear that consistently across other departments too, that we haven't kept up and we're getting bigger and bigger and we're on a path to be, being a major southern city. And so kind of when you think about that tension in relation into particular to like Puce's conversation, license plate readers, kind of the national tension that we're navigating, I don't know, you referenced drones, which feels like a logical thing to pursue, but I also know it would have the same kind of level of scrutiny as other tech tools, that we've talked about. And so I don't know if you have a sense of like how are other cities navigating kind of this kind of conversation? Are there things that we can learn about? I feel like when we don't kind of come to a solution or collaborative kind of conversation around these issues, we continue to see even more substantial divides. And so I'm just curious, at your level, with what you see in other cities, like, is this solvable, or are we just going to have to wait it out till we have a new federal conversation? Obviously, people are more interested in investments in other kinds of community safety initiatives. And so just was curious to your thoughts on that.
Well, thank you. That's a good question. And I think it's solvable. So I've talked to several of my colleagues around the country, and they've been able to get license plate readers, fuses. In fact, if we had fuses, I would call it Nashville Connect and not fuses, just the integration of cameras. But I think it would be highly effective. And we've had more conversations here in Nashville than they've had in those cities. We put more guardrails. It's more restrictive than anywhere else in the country, and for some reason, we're not able to get the results that we want. When it comes to the federal government, they're not using other cities to use their technology for immigration, for all those things. I will say that we've had several crimes here that we're still working. We had a triple homicide on Bart Drive that was MS-13 related. 3 individuals were gunned down by people that looked like they were part of a SWAT team, and they drove off. We had a double homicide a couple of weeks ago. Same thing. They stole the victim's car, was driving around Nashville. We learned a lot about this particular gang as well. We had the young lady that was killed on the Greenway. And if it wasn't for the video in the vehicle, we would have been talking about the serial rapist and murderer in Nashville. This particular individual was researching how to rape and kill women. And so if we didn't have that bit of luck, we would still be dealing with something a lot more serious. And so I think we have to keep putting the narrative out there that there's bad things occurring, and we need the technology to help us catch these people a lot sooner. We got lucky on the Greenway, and we've got lucky on a lot of other things, but there's some cases we haven't been able to solve, and it's because we don't have leads yet, and the LPRs might have been very effective. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Nash, you're recognized.
I promise I'll be real quick. I want to remind folks that, yes, it's great that the crime stats have gone in the right direction and we're seeing some reductions, but that doesn't mean that the overall crime rate isn't higher than we'd like to see it. We've still got lots of work to do.
I'd like to see a lot more reductions. You're exactly right. I would love to have a year where we don't have 90 or 100 homicides, and maybe we don't have any. I know that's dreaming, but the work that our men and women are doing and the investment they have in our city is tremendous. And just to come to work day in and day out. In the last 3 weeks, we've had 3 officers shot at and 1 shot. But they still come to work every day dedicated to get the job done. So thank you for saying that.
Thank you, Councilmember Nash. And seeing no one else in the queue, I just wanted to give one really brief comment. Councilmember Evans, thank you for kind of acknowledging and lifting up the struggle of the moment that we're in. We know that we have some individuals in our community that want to see more technology with policing. We have individuals in our community who want to see less technology with policing, and it's definitely a delicate balance. So Chief Drake, thank you for participating in that conversation and dialogue, and thank you for everything that you and your officers do and your staff do every day for us as Nashvillians. And with that, we are done. And thank you to everyone that came out today. I think you all also gave the Sheriff's Office a run for their money because you all have so many people out, and everyone is so stoic. No one is even like cracking a joke.
Smiling,
It's okay to laugh, y'all. It's all good. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.